Welcome to Fed Snacks, serving up bite-sized insights from former Feds. Today we're welcoming Taka Ariga, former Chief AI Officer, Chief Data Officer, and Director of Enterprise Data and AI at OPM. He's now the founder of Soul Imagination.
I have somewhat of an unusual route within the civil service. For the better part of my professional career, I've worked with firms like Deloitte, Ernst& Young, and Booz Allen, always with public sector clients, but never as a civil servant, until a headhunter a couple of years ago pinged me about a job posting at GAO. So fast forward a few months, I got hired directly into the senior executive service to lead GAO's innovation lab, but also was dual-hatted as their first chief data scientist. I have to say, it was a really fascinating 5 years working at GAO, not only having an opportunity to run a startup organization that went from somewhat of a questionable existence to, I would say, powerhouse of exploring and the use of emerging technology within evaluation context. But also got a chance to develop the GAO's AI accountability framework as a sort of a first of its kind example of what responsible AI might look like. Fast forward to 2024, OPM made a bet that AI should be an extension of data, not just an extension of technology. That strongly resonated with me. So I joined OPM as, get ready for this, Chief AI Officer, Chief Data Officer, and the Director of Enterprise Data and AI. I always say jokingly, I have three jobs but only one paycheck.
Yeah. So could you tell me a bit more about what your transition from government to private industry looked like?
Yeah, I mean, during my time at GAO and OPM, I would get a lot of requests from other public sector entity, nonprofits, international organizations about just the particulars of AI, right? Solution architecture, governance, what works, what doesn't work, training, data, change management. So when I accepted the deferred resignation program,
Mhm.
as much as I lamented the progress that OPM was making in its data-centric vision, it was really an opportunity, at least for me, to serve the broader civil service community. So rather than jumping into a corporate position or industry position right away, I started my own firm, as you mentioned, Soul Imagination, with the goal of advising organizations based on my experience of sort of scaling AI products. I
Mhm.
really love the flexibility. Now I have more time to speak publicly and to write more articles. I'm doubling down on being a tiger daddy to my two young children. But most importantly, it gives me the sort of strategic focus in sharing what works and what doesn't work without getting mired into the day-to-day operations of an organization.
As we were talking about earlier, there's been a shakeup in the federal landscape when looking at the workforce, people leaving, people coming in, new strategies around recruitment and retention. So, what advice do you have for feds, current feds, or former feds trying to navigate the transition from government to industry?
Yeah, I think for most people in this sort of particular boat, they all know the job market is uncertain at best. And
Mhm.
something I learned that it is not the responsibility of the hiring organization or the client to translate your governmental experience, right? A lot of us are used to these acronym heavy, very much inside the belt way of speaking, but that doesn't always come across in the resume, in your pitch deck, in your website, in everything that you do in terms of what value do you bring to their organization, whether
Mhm.
it's philanthropic organization, a nonprofit organization, or even a corporate world. So one example, government rarely talks about profit or loss, but P&L is an important concept in a commercial organization. Value proposition is an important concept in a commercial organization. You can't just say, I develop an AI to serve the citizen. That's great. But how do you translate that into a very sort of corporate objective that maybe you're able to support? The other maybe advice I have is, time to build and expand on your network is now, not when you are riffed or when you're terminated. I was fortunate when I was at GAO, had a chance to really interact it not only at the conference level, but also at the international policy setting level. And that really was a catalyst to sort of understand the power of that network. Not only are you sort of communicating what you know, but you're also learning from others. And through that sort of ecosystem, people know the work that able to sort of deliver and understand where they might be able to sort of leverage each other. So I think the power of network is paramount. But the uncertainty of the transition is that it's an opportunity to revisit the question of what do you want to do with your life, right? So sure, transition is very disruptive, but it's also one of those opportunities that doesn't come often. I have to say, for us, we really, really were thinking about sort of deferred resignation program as an opportunity to maybe sort of contemplate opportunity that we otherwise would never have done had we had a stable job and sort of pension system. And so that part was actually quite exciting in terms of, do we need to stay in DC? Do we sort of pivot to another industry? Can we help in a sort of adjacent space in philanthropic or a nonprofit organization? And then the last advice I maybe offer is just be prudent, but stay very optimistic.
Mhm.
I think throughout this transition, your faith will absolutely be tested, right? For every iron in the fire, 100 of them don't work out. If you're looking to sort of start your own organization, you may not land your first client or prospect for a year, maybe even two. So how do you sort of stay the course, believe in yourself, knowing that it will take some momentum within this environment to sort of build opportunities? I think staying optimistic is a sort of important aspect.
Yeah, that's great advice and good to think about that silver lining of, this is your chance to do what you're passionate about and pursue what's meaningful to you. So thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your perspective. It was great to catch up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah.
For more Fed snacks, head to govciomedia.com.